Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It's Friday. I'm thinking about how well I feel today. I mean, I'm still a little bit sick, but I think do I sound better than I did yesterday? I don't know. Oh, hold on. I got my sound all screwed up here. Anyways, I mean, it's Friday, so usually we try and take it easy on Friday because sometimes, you know, it's like a short burst of activity and then it just goes dead. And that may be what we see today. We do have some like consumer sentiment news that's pretty important though, right? So let's come over to the charts. The treasuries, it had a pretty decent run yesterday, but we're back below 116 even. So there was some news overnight from Mester kind of saying that the data that we've had so far is still not enough to convince her that, you know, the Fed has done their job. So I don't see too big of a reaction from that in the market, but I think that's a really important thing to note, right? S&P 500 doing all the crazy again yesterday. That was a pretty decent sell-off at the open, but then, you know, bounced back the rest of the day and a little bit higher, and we're basically back to where we were yesterday in the overnight session. Oh, man. I tell you what, man, you guys that are trading the E-mini, I feel for you so bad. This thing is starting to get so frustrating. I mean, you're probably going to be playing mean reversion with the options is probably the best play right now, but good grief. Good grief. Oil having a little bit of a tumble yesterday, but you know, I'd say it's okay. It's within the range. Gold and silver, man, silver in particular just got hammered yesterday. Look at that. And I'm really not entirely sure what the catalyst was. Although you do kind of have to just remember that, like, these two instruments seem to be able to things change in gold and silver very quickly, it seems. Okay, and copper also getting hit yesterday. Still lots of concerns about growth in China. And Bitcoin also looking a little sad. You know, they had this big this was because the government moved some money. So I would maybe expect this to keep going if they're actually like taking it to the exchanges and like selling them or something. But the price action has been pretty negative over there. And meanwhile, the dollar keeps getting strong. In fact, we're back above 102. What? I thought everybody told me that the dollar was about to collapse and that the, you know, de-dollarization and all this stuff, huh? What's up? Well, maybe it's more complicated than that, huh? ES is choppy. Yeah, it is choppy. I mean, there are definitely ways to make money. I mean, in any market, there's going to be a strategy that works. But, you know, in terms of like trying to find something that's really going to matter and move them and then just try and ride the wave, like you haven't been getting that in the E-mini very much, right? Iron flies. There you go. How can I get the DOM? Do I have to pay? Yes. I mean, there are some brokers that have free software that is pretty good. To get the software that I'm using, it is about $500 up front, and then in order to actually execute on the DOM, it's $50 a month license. So, and I have an affiliate link in the video description. Now, I think I am doing better, but I'm going to wait until, you know, I'm probably still on the Mucinex is probably still going through my system. So Yeah, you have to range trade. Well, and with ES, I mean, in the treasuries, range trading is kind of hard, right? There are points when you can really do it, but it can be hard because when ZN range trades, it just ticks back and forth across 29 and nothing happens, right? And you never get filled at 29.5 or 28.5 unless it's like plowing through you, right? So range trade is kind of a different thing. Over here in the E-mini, you kind of have to know a lot about how the options are going to affect the flows, right? And that is becoming really difficult with all of the 0 day to expiration options that are out there floating around. So I guess just sell 0 day to expiration or sell event contracts. I don't know. Oh man. Okay, so Code Lounge. I cannot, off of the top of my head, recall all of the details of pro rata, but essentially the only thing that you need to know about it is that in a pro rata queue, bills are not just based on your position in the line. It also depends on how much you have. So they end up filling a portion of like every order that's in the queue or something like that. And it encourages people to put on big lots. Like the bigger your lot is, the more liquidity you're willing to put out there, the more contracts you're going to get filled on. Right. But that queue option is not used in any of the instruments that retail traders would be using. So I think the 2-year, and the other thing is it does change. I think at one point the 2-year was using that. I don't know if they're using it right now, but that's a detail that you don't have to worry too much about. But if you really do want to go into it, just read the wiki on the CME website. Yeah, it's based on like your percentage of the share of the orders resting. Yeah. So if you have like 50% of the orders on there, you're likely to get X percent of it filled. That it's not a simple thing. Let's see here. I got a couple of tabs open. I don't know why. I thought I closed these all last night. What's the name of the track? Escape Route from Stream Beats by Harris Heller. This one is pretty common. I feel like I don't know. You know what's so crazy now is that because the sounds are so short, we really get familiar with all of them, although there are some that like never seem to play because this shuffle doesn't work very well. Are you freaking kidding me? 9-year-old boy's life hangs in the balance as he is denied a transplant over vaccination status? What? Ugh. Okay. I don't know. I really want to get better because I want to be outside pushing dirt around. The CME has way more information than I'm aware of. Liz says in Discord. Like, they have a lot of resources. All of those tools on there are something that ends up being useful at some point or another. There needs to be a class action lawsuit against these hospitals. Dude, I was watching a creator on TikTok yesterday talking because a lot of people have been saying that their ADHD medications haven't been working. And so they're accusing at least one of the ADHD med manufacturers of, you know, like not putting the Adderall in there or whatever so that they can make more money or something, right? And this person was going through like the problems with like trying to sue them, because you have to like prove damages, and like the amount of damages that you can get are like not enough to justify it or whatever. And so it would have to be like a class action lawsuit. And I'm seeing that a lot. It's like, okay, how far does it have to get? You know, okay, so like a 9-year-old is not allowed to get his shots, but like, can you actually sue over that? Like, how do you actually get that to the court, you know? Does NinjaTrader use C#? Yes, it does. And that's one of the things I love about it. It works really, really well. If I'm going to use a garbage collected language in a trading system, I think it should be C#, not Java. I'm not a fan of all these Java ones. Where does the spot gamma guy get his info? Can you get similar from the CME? Kind of, actually, I think so. Not from the CME, but so if we come over here to the tool, or rather the tools, let's see here. So there's these quick strike tools. So quick strike is somebody else that I think has a relationship with NinjaTrader. Let's see if it'll let me in. I'm not sure if I have my credentials saved. Let's try it. I haven't done it for a while, so. Yes, I know what a bicycle looks like. Yay. Oh, what? It wants me to register again? No. Yeah, Spot Gamma is expensive. Ah, okay, it does let me in. Okay, so Let's do TN. Will it let me get in here? I don't exactly. It's been a while, and okay. There's a lot more tools here. I think it might be open interest that you really want. This one is not. Maybe I need to use a UI. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So this is showing me in the options how much volume occurred in both puts and calls at all of the different expirations and strike prices and so forth, right? So what Spot Gamma does, excuse me, is they take all of this information and they do calculations based on people's positions about how much these guys would need to hedge based on it moving in a certain direction. And then they use that information to get these spot levels. So you can kind of come into this tool. So if I come back to equity indexes and I use the E-mini and I do the E-mini S&P 500, right? So I can very clearly see, for instance, that there is a lot of puts at 4,100. And the calls are more like 4,175. Now, this isn't going to be as good as the data that you get from Spot Gamma. I mean, they're expensive, but it's because you can make some serious money from them. I wish there was a way that people could share sub costs like they do Netflix. Well, what you can do is you could, I mean, you could have one person pay for it and then share the information with the other people. Oh, how do I tell the puts from the calls? It's just the column up here at the top. See, it says, okay, so the contract is ESM3. The expiration is EW2K3, which is today's expiration. And then here's calls and puts. So there's a bunch of puts at 4,100 and 4,120. And there's a bunch of calls at 4,175. So I'm going to guess that we're not going to get above 4,175 today. Well, right now we're at 58. So we're probably going to move a little bit. Anyways, but I mean, like, there's all the, and I don't understand the models that Spot Gamma uses, but my understanding is this is the kind of data that they're using. Now, unfortunately, Quick Strike, to pay for Quick Strike is like very expensive. So I really wanted to get Quick Strike because let's see here, when you come into here, if I go back to interest rates, This is another one of those rabbit holes that you'll go down that are like, well, it seems like this might be useful. Let's see here, which... Open interest. Maybe it doesn't show me. Racing sheets. I don't know where it is. Maybe I'm just thinking of these. So when you come into like the treasury analytics, either you can... Oh, it's not this one either. It's the treasury analytics tool. Yeah, this is it right here. So I can come into here and I can say, what is the dollar value of a basis point? Right? Futures DVO1 is 94.87, right? So let's see here. It's 1,000 divided by 64, 15.625 is the tick value. So we go 94.87 divided by 15.625, and that means that a basis point is roughly 6 ticks. So if I come in here, if we moved from 29 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 260, I would expect to see the micro treasury move from 3,405 to 3,415, for instance. Right? So it's 6 to 10. I used Spot Gamma for a few years ago. It's good for swing trades. The problem is oftentimes we have to sit and draw down and at time break even by month end. Yeah. Well, you know, so there's something else that we should talk about here. I'm just going to close all of this if that's okay. The treasuries move before the micro yield? Generally speaking, yes. If you were fast enough, you might be able to make a robot that trades off of that. I don't know. You know, micro treasuries is one of those spots where those kinds of opportunities may actually be available for you, right? Yeah, no problem. I'm telling you, man, it's a huge rabbit hole. So one thing that we should consider here is like the seasonality, right? So what tends to happen towards the end of May is like activity starts to die off. You're already seeing it, right? Like this week was pretty quiet for the most part. Pretty quiet for the most part. Yeah. And of course, we've still got events ahead of us. So I think that there's still some activity left in May. But once we get to the end of the month, and remember, it's first call in the treasuries is 3 days before the first of the month, right? So I think that puts you at the 29th, but then since it's on a Monday, you could say the 26th. So like we got these 2 weeks, right? And then people probably disappear. Oh, and isn't the 29th a holiday? So I think it actually is the 26th, right? So once that Friday comes along, like the liquidity will be different. Okay. Now, when nothing's going on in the market, that makes it really, really hard to trade. And in that kind of action, I'm only sim. And I'm only going to be taking trades during the summer when I really think there's like really strong news, like actively moving us and stuff, right? So in terms of like, if you were to get one of these tools, so Quick Strike, I think is like $100 a month too. Okay, Spot Gamma is I think $100 a month, right? Might make more sense to wait until September to get on something like that. And just kind of like try and go with what you have now during the summer, because there's still a lot to learn from it, right? Is Jigsaw a broker? No, they are not. They are only the platform, and you have to use like the more independent introducing brokers, right? Because a lot of brokers have basically moved to their own proprietary software. But like you can use Edge Clear is what I use, and I've been really happy with them. It's kind of funny when I think back, because I've also used AMP and NinjaTrader. I can't even remember what it was that I was unhappy about, but I just remember with those other brokers just being unhappy all the time. And now that I'm with EdgeClear, I never think about it. Oh. Okay, yeah. I am mad that you're bringing that up, because now I have to bring the tool back up. Okay. Again. Okay. In the options heat map. Okay. Oh, open interest heat map. Is there a good brokerage for a beginning scalper? So unfortunately, the introducing broker, well, both the introducing broker and the clearing firms in futures are very limited in what they can actually do for you. So they, like, your introducing broker is really like guidance and support, you know, and so that's what matters. That's kind of like the thing that's kind of crazy about it is like, you know, if you have a problem, how good and responsive are they to helping you solve your problem, you know? And basically when that ends up mattering, that always means that something is wrong, right? Like you only get into that situation when there was a technical issue or there was a problem, you know. But that's essentially what you're paying your broker for, right? So the difference between brokers is like not that much, but that one tiny thing, you know, if it ends up mattering, means everything, right? So that's kind of the decision that you have to make, right? The cheapest commissions tends to be AMP Futures and NinjaTrader, okay? Whereas guys like Edge Clear, Optimus Futures, I wouldn't put, I think Iron Beam should be put in that first category. Iron Beam tends to be pretty cheap too. Optimist, who else do we got? And then there's like dozens of other ones. They tend to be more about the customer service, right? Like the AMP customer service that I got was really spotty. Sometimes they like knew exactly what was going on, and sometimes the people that I got on the other side just seemed absolutely clueless. Like and same with NinjaTrader. Like I had to argue with the guy. You can go back and find the first day that they traded, that the micro treasury yield futures traded, and you can see me work out with NinjaTrader like, okay, I want to trade this thing, and they're like, well, it's too new. NinjaTrader said it's too new, and that's really risky, and I'm like, it's $1 per tick. I understand what the risks are. I should be able to trade it because I'm like literally the only one that will. Like, there's nobody else there, right? And so I went and got access to it, and I was like the first market order in that market. Okay, does NinjaTrader work with Jigsaw? Yes, sir, it does. So there is a plugin, or what do we call it? It's a plugin called the Bridge. So it's this little indicator that you can either add to your charts, or even better, add it to your market analyzer, and then it will forward the data from NinjaTrader to Jigsaw. And it does this using the CLR framework, which basically means that these two applications are able to communicate to each other by putting stuff in a shared memory location. So there's like literally no latency to it, right? The only latency to it is the additional processor cycle for Jigsaw to see it and pull it in. So it works really, really well. TT or Jigsaw? Well, if you, so TT is not cheap. Okay. TT is not cheap. If you are a high roller and you have the money for TT, then go for it, man. But TT is really designed more for the professional CTAs out there. Yeah, so it's a much more professional tool. I think that Jigsaw's DOM is still better. Like if something happened, I don't see myself ever getting to using TT on my own. But let's just say that something crazy happened and they're like, Seth, we really want you to use this tool and we'll give it to you for free or something like that. Okay, if something happened like that, I would still use Jigsaw as my DOM because I prefer the Jigsaw DOM to the TT DOM. All the other stuff though, there's some things that TT does that are crazy, especially the auto spreader. So, but it's like literally a couple $100 a month. Oh, I wish I had written it down. Maybe I did write it down because I talked to them. We had questions about it, and I talked to them, and it was like, oh, I thought that you guys had like $100 a month or something like that one, and no, it was way more than that. What's auto spreader? I don't 100% know how it works, to be honest with you. But from what I recall, you can kind of like, you can say, I want to do this spread, and it will like place the orders and like stack and pull them for you as the price moves. Can you DAO spoofing? Can you spoof? Well, I suppose anybody could spoof. I mean, look, I could come in here into the micro treasury yield futures and I could say, all right, I'm going to put my one tiny little order here at 338. Oh my gosh, look, there's 6 there. Did you see all of the other orders there reacted to it? Like I put mine on and a bunch of other robots put some on there. Now I'm going to pull it. Oh, they stayed. Those were 5s before, weren't they? No, anyways, I just spoofed. Come get me. Obviously, you have to have enough money to do it, right? But you know what? Like it used to be, spoofing was like a big thing, for sure. There was a time when spoofing was a big thing, and then the Department of Justice came out and like I think it was JP Morgan that they really hit, wasn't it? When they started prosecuting JP Morgan, like that behavior disappeared. And we'll still see it, but it's like maybe a month thing. And I don't think that it's been working out well for the spoofers either. So, I mean, it's kind of nice, but yeah, the whole spoofing thing is not as big of a deal as it used to be. But, you know, the other side of it is that if you're really looking at the order flow correctly, the spoofing stuff isn't going to matter. Because it doesn't necessarily matter. There's a big order at 116.050, or even there's a big order at 116 even, right? What matters is when the volume trades there, how much of that actually trades. And then if it does trade and it ticks back down and then it ticks back up, how much does it take? And you look at that over time and you get an idea of what the latent liquidity in an area is. Okay, what is MBO in the DOM? Okay, it's a good question. Sometimes I'm man, I wish I had a better way of tracking all this stuff, because, you know, there's things that we cover all the time and that's kind of one of them. And I was trying to remember because I know you've been around, Ami Goya. Amir Goya. I don't know how to say that. Anyways. But MBO stands for market by order. Okay. And it is essentially a different way of sending the order book data to you. So the way that the market depth data works through, say, Rhythmic, for instance, is it will say, it'll give me 3 pieces of, I think it's 3 pieces of information. It will tell me the amount, the volume, the price, and like an operation, like whether it's adding or modifying or deleting or whatever. So adding and delete and all that kind of matters based on how many levels you're showing. Okay, but so it will come in and it will say 1594 at 1600 modify, right? And then my DOM will shift to 1627, right? And so, you know, it kind of takes time. So one of the things that you might see happen and that would do in Jigsaw. Oh, actually, I don't think I have this feature turned on. Do I? And let me come find it here. Show depth history. So what this will do is it will show me what the depth was the last time that it was at that spot. But then you don't get to see the totals at the top and bottom. So your pick. Okay. Anyways. So every time that one of those changes happen, my trading system takes that number and puts it into this data structure that it represents the order book, and then the DOM displays those numbers. Okay, so if it's a number that we've moved away from, I just have it saved in my order book, even though I'm not getting data for that price currently, and it's just showing me what the price was there last time that we were actually trading it. Okay, so now the issue with that is if I want to know where I am in the queue, if I put an order on there right now, let's say at a 005. So right now at 005, I would be like 1613, 1606 in line. Okay. So now it decreased even more, 1582. And then it went back up to 16. Okay. So question, if it goes back down again, right? I'm not at the end of the queue anymore, but if more orders pull, are the orders that pull ahead of me or behind me? I can't actually know. I can kind of guess. Based on where I am in the queue and say on average is this amount, and I can kind of guess how much it's going to be. And that's how Jigsaw does it for like your position in the queue, the estimated position in the queue. That's how they do it. And that's also how the simulator determines if it gets filled or not, right? But it's not exact. If I want to be exact, I have to know, okay, it it changed to 1156, but that 1166 was actually this order and this order and this order canceled, right? So what market by order data does is, instead of telling you, okay, the current volume at 116 even is 1126, instead of doing that, it says, here's order ID X, and it, it has this many or this much volume in it, and then this order was changed to only have this much volume in it, or this order was canceled, that sort of a thing, right? Then you have to construct this order book from that information. So it's a much more intensive process. That's why you see a lot of trading applications haven't really integrated it. Like Jigsaw has not integrated the market by order data, right? I think you can get it through Sierra charts, because it's like, if you're an algorithm, that can really, really matter. Like what your spot in the queue is could give you a big percentage chance on whether I actually want to hold my bid there or not, right? So the market by order data is really important, but for us, it's not entirely clear what use it actually is to us. And it's a lot more processor and data intensive. And so that's why a lot of platforms have said it's not really worth it for us to integrate it in there. Okay. So as a retail trader, you're coming in and you're looking at that. Just realize your MBO is like $100 a month for a piece of data that we don't have a whole lot of research on how useful that data would actually be for a retail trader. Okay. I really wish I had that data, because there's a lot of experiments and things I would like to research. In particular, I'm told that you can detect stop orders converting into market orders with it, and I want to see if I can find any kind of empirical behavior in the market based on stop orders, right? But just know that's what you'd be paying for, right? For most retail traders, especially if you're just beginning and you don't know, and I guess the way that I would put it is, if I have to explain to you what MBO is, you probably don't need it, right? The people that need it already know what it is. That's not a knock on you. That's just, it's a really niche thing. It's a really niche thing. What is the best future for a beginner? I say that it's the micro 10-year treasury yield future. Hold on. I'm trying to get the snot flowing. I need some water in here. Okay, so here's why I would say follow the treasuries. First of all, the treasuries are the easiest to interpret the order flow on. So the empirically proven stylized behaviors of order flow are really, really apparent in the 10-year treasury, and you can see me walk you through it every day and point out things that are happening in the 10-year, right? So that's really, really useful. And the things that matter to the treasuries, like what the Federal Reserve is doing, the interest rate market as a whole, currency markets, macroeconomics, things like that, okay? Those things are really, really important in treasuries. They are also important in other markets as well. So everything that you learn about in the treasury market will be applicable to other instruments if you decide to move over later, right? And then the third thing is that the treasuries have a really large tick to commission ratio and are relatively low risk overall compared to other futures, which is to say the amount of money that you will lose per contract on your average move is less in the treasuries than it is in a lot of other instruments. You know, like I used to come in here into ZN and trade 4 ticks, and that's like $64, right? And whereas when you did it in ES, you know, you were having moves of $1,000 regularly during a day. Then they came along with micro futures, right? And that kind of changed things around. So now with micro futures, you can trade micro ES, and that's a pretty good gig for a lot of people, right? But trading equity indexes is hard, especially if you're brand new. I think that trading equity indexes is a more advanced thing, right? But then they came out with micro treasury yield futures, and so what you can do is you can watch the order flow in ZN, but then trade it in the micro 10-year, which is what I do, and just make her lose 10 or 20 bucks. And let me tell you what, when you're only risking 10 or 20 bucks on a trade, right? You put $1,000 in, and you know that'll last you for at least a year, if not, you know, 3 or 5 years. You know, even if you weren't profitable and you were drawing down the whole time, you know, you're going to get a lot of experience for what you put in there compared to what you're going to get in ES. Because when you first start out, you usually don't make money. Okay. It takes years. It takes most people years to even get to like break even. So, because there's a lot to learn about like what drives the markets. A few years ago when you said this, I didn't agree, but now I do 100%. What can I say? You know, one of the things when we're having conversations like this is like, I didn't come to these conclusions logically, unfortunately, right? I came to these conclusions from fighting over it for years and years and years until I came to the inevitable conclusion, you know? And the inevitable conclusion that I've come to is that when you're starting out, you should take the smallest amount of risk possible, and that is the micro treasury yield futures. Couple of days back when I said you're a seasoned trader, now you want to know why? Well, yeah. You know, that's one of those things that's, I wouldn't call it imposter syndrome, but it's kind of like the more clear of a picture you have of where you're actually at, the more humbling it tends to be, you know? I've definitely been around the block more than most people, right? Once you've made it more than 5 years, most traders don't get that far. And I'm also in a special position, having been running this stream for the most of the time. So like I started this stream when I had been trading for I think a year. Maybe not even a full year. Not a full year on actively trading futures, at least. I had been watching the markets for a long time, and you know, I had all of the experience from watching the trading systems at the bank and everything else like that. But no, I was only a year in. There was a lot of things that I didn't know, and the like there's two big advantages to doing it this way. What one is that as I help you guys always come back and give me something, right? Whether it's pieces of research, so like the book Trades, Quotes, and Prices, I didn't find that on my own. I think it was, I can't remember at the moment who it was. It's a regular though. But you know, that was a really big one, for instance, you know, so people will give us research or people will alert us to flows that may possibly be going through today. or they're just here in the stream and they're listening to us talk and they offer different perspectives on helping, sorting these things out, right? And working together also helps and has helped us make money. And so, doing all of that is like in other words, running the stream is an edge. Okay. Running the stream for me is an edge because I create a community where we share information and we gain edge from that, particularly me, but you guys all benefited from it as well. Okay. And then the other thing is that when you're constantly talking to people and like teaching them the things that you just learned and stuff, it really cements it in your mind, right? So like, again, your mind is a neural network, and it's watching the data and it's training. As you trade, it's training and it's building that network. And when you kind of share the information from your network to other people, it kind of cements the network pathways somewhat. So teaching helps you remember and so forth. So yeah, that, and doing that for 5 years is given me a perspective and experience that I don't think that the average trader gets to have. And I think is really valuable, especially for the new traders, right? So, because from my perspective, I would prefer to have seasoned traders in here, right? Like the people that the more they know what they're doing, the more edge they can share and the better it is for us overall. But I think that some of the stuff that I have to share is the most useful for the beginners, because I think the worst thing that happens to people is they come in and they're trying to they don't know what they're doing, and they're just going through different methods of trading and trying to figure out what's going on, right? Well, while you're doing that, what you're doing is you're training your network wrong, right? And that can really set you back, because then that can ingrain patterns of behavior and thinking that maybe harm you later on, right? So I would rather catch the people when they're just coming into the industry and teaching them right and showing them the things that we actually know are true, so that they don't have to go through that stuff, right? And then they can spend their time on the research part, actually going into like things that are unknown, and that they're prepared with the tools and skills to actually research that stuff, Nobody saw that, right? Gross. I had something kind of blocking my nose a little bit, and I think I got rid of it. I like taking a really deep... Where's all that snort from? Okay, so I was watching... man... Can you tell I watch TikTok too much? Because you guys will say something and be like, oh, I saw a TikTok about that yesterday. Yeah, I watched too much TikTok. Especially yesterday because I was sick. Anyways, I have a guy on TikTok that I follow who is an allergist, and he said that your body produces 2 liters of snot a day. What? 2 liters? I couldn't believe it. Can you believe that? Like a whole pop can of snot? Any special considerations for the last session of the week? I wouldn't say anything special about today. I would say it's been pretty quiet. I haven't really been paying too much attention, have I? But we do have some news coming up, right? Well, that's true that it is a narrow initial balance, at least in the treasuries it is. But yeah, we got consumer sentiment, so we've got the University of Michigan consumer sentiment at the top of the hour, forecast 63.0, previous reading 63.5, and also inflation expectations at 4.6. This is a relatively major high impact expected event. The inflation expectations has been a measure that the market has been paying very close attention to, but given the flows that we've seen so far in the first hour, it doesn't really look to me like the market is expecting too much. And as I was saying earlier, it really seems like the market is kind of going into that summer trading a little early. And I've seen this pattern a few times before. I mean, I've only seen 5 Mays. No, it's been more than that. It was 7. I've seen 7 Mays now. Okay. And I can think of a couple of them where it was like, oh, like when the contract switches over, that's when things really get slow. But I can think of a couple of times where I really started overtrading. The first year in particular, like I was doing awesome, and then May came along and it was just dismal. It's just dismal. Don't jinx us. Anyways, it seems like we're seeing it happen. And the other thing that I'm noticing is that it seems a little bit more extreme this year, probably because of the 0 day to expiration options. Like the market really, really wants to go into a low volatility regime. Like the dynamics are as such that the VIX is going like down tiny because everybody's that wants to put the risk on is doing it in the 0 day to expiration options. And so that's leading to like a kind of some crazy wild intraday swings and choppiness, but actually limited ranges, right? Yeah. We're already in that regime, but I don't think that we're to like 2017 kind of, well, let's come and look at what the VIX itself actually is. That we're certainly not in the sort of action that we saw that year. That was so frustrating, man. So I'm gonna put it like this. VIX 1 day. Can I zoom out far enough? Yeah. Okay. So in 2017, we had like VIX below 10 at points. It was like 16 to 10, right? Yeah. So right now we're right at 16. So we're kind of on the precipice of this extremely low volatility regime that when it happened in 2016, I found it very difficult. Sorry, 2017. This area right here. I found that very difficult to trade. Right. Because what happened was like, because there was trading interest before this, right? Especially in the treasuries, because the treasuries were were like just balling. They were just doing so well, right? And then this came along and it's like it just never moves ever, right? And then interest in trading didn't pick back up again until 2020. And I can only assume that, you know, when the volatility dies out, or retail traders just lose interest, man. Right? That's not to say that there aren't strategies that can work in that environment. It's just, it's like a completely different type and set of strategies, and they're more fat-tailed strategies. So it's really, really difficult to work out if what you're doing is actually working or not. But I'm hoping that if that's the regime that we're going into, and you notice, by the way, like I'm eternally triggered by this thing that happened to me early on in the trading, right? Because I'm always talking about being concerned when I see the volatility contracting, right? For all we know, it could shift very quickly, right? Like, if negotiations over the debt ceiling like fall apart, then, you know, all bets are off and we could go into a very high volatility regime very quickly, right? That one is getting a little scary because realize the estimate for the Treasury as to like when they reach the debt ceiling is June 1st. That's only 2 weeks away. They only have like 2 weeks to negotiate this and get something, right? Now, the good news is that right now the staffers are meeting and not the leaders, which does suggest to me that they're trying to put together a deal and that they can get a deal. I'm told that the market freaked out a little bit about this one yesterday. I wasn't watching things when it happened, but when that headline hit, I was told that the market freaked out a little bit. But they stressed that this was a good thing, that like the staffers were able to work out some details on their own and that they didn't need the bigger guys involved yet. So that's good, you know. And so I think the reason why we're kind of seeing this stuff is because the market thinks that like the banking crisis thing is going to kind of fade and the debt ceiling thing is going to get resolved, and then you do end up having a relatively quiet summer. I wouldn't agree with that. With the age of algos, we don't really have summertime low volume trading anymore. I'm pretty sure that there are these algos out there that they just turn off for summer, because you'll see it on the DOM. You'll see it on the DOM that there's a few hundred less contracts after the contract switches over. Generally speaking. Volume on ZN has been half of the normal in May so far? Really? I haven't taken a whole lot of trades in May, have I? This a whole... You know, I find it interesting that you guys keep noticing, oh, this is a quiet open. You know, this is maybe what I'm seeing for the open and everything. Because I'm kind of already to, yeah, I don't think that there's any point in touching this until after consumer sentiment, and I'm barely even paying attention to it. Which is maybe a bad thing for me, but... Well, okay. So like there's even with the scalping, there's like the two sides of it, right? If the ZN is just rotating around 31.5 and barely ticking outside of that, you know, you could get into a situation where even if you're going for one tick, you could be waiting for 15 minutes, right? Do you really want to get into the market when that happens, right? Like a scalper's paradise is not just that it's going nowhere. You want something that is, there's a lot of volume and it's ticking back and forth a lot, but it's in doing so in a narrow range, right? Doing so in a narrow range. But you need to have enough volume coming through at those prices for you to think that you're going to get fills on both sides. Man, even if I was trading ES, I'm not sure that I really have those conditions to feel comfortable taking scalps. You know? Having issues with ES transition NQ for small... What? Smaller ranges NQ? What? Yeah, I'm just realizing I haven't been going through and looking at Twitter at all or any of that. Haven't even been listening to my news squawk. Nick Timmerose, banking regulators appointed by Biden wanted to pump the brakes on banking mergers, but the unfolding industry crisis could force them to choose between blessing a new wave of M&A or accepting greater contagion risks / more government intervention. A Fed governor called for an independent review of the failure of Silicon Valley Bank, suggesting that the central bank's recently released report might be incomplete. She signaled concern the Fed post-mortem would be used to justify broadening regulations. I'm really glad that the regulators in charge of this are taking a look at this, and that so far there hasn't been a lot of political pressure. I think one of the biggest risks that you have right now is that you get like a political movement that kind of holds politicians' feet to the fire that says we need to regulate these regional banks more heavily or something like that. Because I really don't see how the regional banks handle more regulation. Like, it's already a tough industry. They're already having trouble making money, and then you're going to make things even harder for them. No thanks. We need to come to this understanding that, you need to be able to take on risk. We just need to be able to limit the contagion risk, that not everybody is exposed to the same risks, right? Wow. Another tweet I'm seeing here, this is kind of an unsavory thing to talk about, and it is Jordan Peterson sharing it, so I should probably put that out there, but he's tweeting Matthew M. Wylicki. He says, we estimate that a price rise of around 0.1 euros per kilowatt hour, or about 30% of last winter's average electricity price, was related to an increase in a country's weekly mortality of around 2.2%. So they now have, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's like, I mean, there was a war, right? Then that's why the prices went up, and I don't think that it was intentional that they rose it up. But this is something that people have been warning about. Higher energy costs results in people dying. Yes, 2.2%. That is really interesting, isn't it? I think one of the things that I am starting to see go on, and maybe I'm being really naive about this, but I am starting to see some things where there are issues where it was like a controversial issue before, and there actually is solid research coming out in those areas that answers some pretty clear questions that really says something should be done in a certain area. So does higher energy costs kill people? Yes. Another one that I saw is there's like all of this research on how bad fluoride is for you. And now there's a renewed push to get rid of fluoride in your water. You know, there's a certain point at which the evidence is just so clean that it can't be denied anymore. Fortunately, knowing that people are dying from the energy price increases is probably not enough to move people on this. Years and years of people crying. I know, right? And then they were all like, no, it's fine. You don't need, there's no evidence, yada, yada, yada. No, they've, I think that there's, let's say there's enough evidence out there that we should really question whether we should put fluoride in the water at all. Because there's not really any benefit from it, and it shows that it is bad for IQs. Did you take something for your throat? The only thing I've taken is Mucinex at night. And it's a 12 hours, so it probably won't wear off for me here until like the stream is over. Because what I find will happen is after the stream is over, then I get a bunch more gunk out, and then I'm a lot more clear, unfortunately. You're not familiar with fluoride? So, fluoride is a chemical that is used to remineralize your teeth, which is to say that when you use fluoride, your teeth become harder and more resistant to cavities and things like that. So they put it in your toothpaste. Having fluoride in your toothpaste is beneficial. Like it prevents cavities, okay? So they decided to put it in the water. And what we found was that after many years of research was that having the fluoride in the water does not actually improve anything. Yeah, they put it in the water in the US. I don't think it's allowed in the EU. Yeah, especially when you swallow it. And there's even some question about whether it should even be in toothpaste, because you shouldn't swallow it, but they're even kind of wondering, is the amount that you get even if you don't swallow dangerous? I don't know, man. Like, here's the thing, and I think that what's happening to me here is that TikTok has kind of picked up on that this is a thing I'm interested in, because it's showing me videos about this stuff now all the time. Oh my gosh. You can't drink the water because it has fluoride in it. You can't use certain pans because they have Teflon on them, right? There's plastic is bad for you, and that's everywhere, and there's like literally no way to get away from that. There's Roundup on all of the vegetables that you're eating. There's the wheats that you're eating are maybe not good for you, and compared to like the wheats that we were using 100 years ago, and it's just like, if I want to get my body into like the most optimal place where I'm not, I'm only taking good things into my body and all of the harmful substances are out, right? And why would I be interested in that? Because I have a medication that I pay $1,000 a month for, when I'm not, before the insurance will cover it, and it could be caused by a reaction to some sort of a substance out there, right? So, anything of that nature that I could try to see if it improves the condition, I'm interested in it, right? But the reality is that, like, the further down that rabbit hole you get, the more it's like there's toxic chemicals in everything, everywhere, all around you, and you just literally can't escape from it. We are the carbon they want in your eyes. Oh man. That's a rabbit hole that I've been intentionally avoiding. I'll be right back. I think if indigenous people who always lived from the earth were to eat our food for a month, they would constantly be sick until they die if our diseases don't kill them first. Maybe. Maybe we could do a study on that. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if there's an ethical way to do a study like that. Okay, something's up. Did I miss something when I stepped away there? I don't think I did. Maybe these I'm kind of wondering, could this be front running the University of Michigan data? But I'm not entirely sure that makes sense. I'm gonna pull up the banks. When this happens, it's been more a bank thing. Yeah. You know what though, Trading Bunny, that documentary was really interesting because my takeaway from that one was that what was really bad about it was getting the super meal. That, like, if all you did was eat a burger, that it was actually pretty good. Like, in terms of calories at least. But it was when you get like a supersized fries and everything that it was. Because the thing that killed him was, oh dude, it's got to be the KRE. Yeah, and see the KRE bounces up there and the S&P is bouncing up. Okay. Yeah, there was a teacher that did a rebuttal to that and showed you could lose weight eating nothing but McDonald's. Oh, eating nothing but McDonald's, so food choices doesn't matter. Yeah. Anyways, I have ulcerative colitis, and the best theory that we have is that it's either A, a bacterial infection that we can't detect. B, that it's some sort of sensitivity to a certain toxin in the environment or something. And 3, just having an overly active immune system. Alfredo, we do not know of any news stories at the moment. I see some action in the S&P 500 that does suggest informed trading, and I suspect that it could be related to banking, but we haven't gotten it yet. The issue with these sorts of things is that our research in this area is not really very good. I'm sure that at some point, and maybe it will be too late for me, I'm sure that at some point we'll have a renaissance in the research on these things. There's got to be a certain point at which your knowledge becomes enough that you're able to design really good studies and you start learning a ton about this stuff, right? But it's really hard to do because things affect individuals so differently, right? But one of the more interesting pieces that I've seen recently is that they've shown that they did like a meta study, and they showed that the metabolism of people has decreased by about 100 to 200 calories a day compared to people like 50, 100 years ago. So, and that discrepancy is enough to cause an obesity epidemic. So they're saying that the reason we're fat isn't because we're not active enough or because we're eating too much, but rather that our resting metabolic rate is 100 calories less. And why is that? And the crazy thing is that they have no clue why. Right? So could it be that our clothes are too warm and we're just, something about our lifestyle makes us, our resting rate lower? Or is it like something in the environment, or like who knows, but it's like a big deal. They're definitely going to put a lot of effort into finding out now, right? Well, I tell you what, man, so KRE is kind of moderating. I'm going to minimize this. I'm definitely going to be paying attention to, I didn't realize that was armed. Let me come in here. I was just looking at my orders here. Oh, wait, just today. I'll make sure today. And there's this one order that was from like 2019 that it's still there, and it's like a bug in Jigsaw, and it will never go away. But now there's another one it says on June 2023 at 24 half, 116 24 half. There's nothing there. That's the same. If I cancel it, it cancels. If I come in here and cancel all, nothing happens. So I've found a bug of some sort. Resend trade stats? Okay. Tools. And that I just close and reopen it. It's still there. That's so funny. Oh, and which account does it think that it's in? It says it's in the Sirius account too. I don't. That's so weird. You wish. Minimize, that's what I need to do. Well, anyways, I don't think it'll affect us here. I'm not sure that we'll see a big move off of this news, but like given some of the action that we've seen here in the past 10 minutes or so, we're gonna have to be on our toes, right? So there's another solution. Maybe in Journalytics I can go into it and find it and delete it or something. Oh, I don't think that that'll fix it, to be honest with you. Here we go. Okay, so it's lower than expected. But what about inflation? Whoa, okay. 5-year inflation expectations 3.2 higher than the forecast of 2.9, and 1-year inflation preliminary 4.5 higher than the expected 4.4 1-year expected. But the headline sentiment 57.7 versus an expected 63. So yeah. I think that the treasuries are selling there because the inflation expectations, but I'm not too sure that that's a huge deal. Could keep an eye on it. That might run. I'm not willing to bet on it. You know, maybe if I wasn't sick, but combination of me being sick and it having been such a tight market anyways makes me really nervous to get in on that. So I'll make sure that's not armed. Well, so there was selling across the board initially, but only the 5-year really actually made a significant move in cumulative delta that held. Like whatever selling we've had has already been wiped out by buying in the 10-year at least. Is gold buying right now? Oh, it's not bad. The silver. We should continue to monitor that one. That one could come back down. It'd be interesting to see where that one comes down. Hmm. Oh, this one that's there, that was placed 4/6/23 over a month ago. No. Maybe your Lucas's suggestion will work, because when I come in here and look, so it was 116.24 half. I don't see that when I go into Journalytics. Yeah, I'll have to close it. James gets lucky again. What's the news? We had a little bit of volatility. It seems like something is going on, but we're not sure what it is. I'm seeing the KRA move to new lows, so I'm concerned that it could be one of the big banks or one of the regional banks. So there's this one. I wonder if I can go and find this one from 2019. I'm going to go and look for that one. I underslapped? What do you mean by that? I'm just sick. Sorry, I haven't been reading all your comments. I'm not completely paying attention. I'm considering. So the error trades do not show up in Journalytics. So but that one, I'm like, there's no way that that's just been sitting in there forever. I'm gonna try it though, okay? Okay, so I need to go to the database. Oh man, there's so many. I don't think it's a folder though. Isn't it a file? I have a file, not a folder. Okay, so I'll rename the Jigsaw Trading P&L files. Now I'll open it back up. So I wonder if I can. Oh, I moved the SDF and the UNK. Oh, maybe I think that fixed it. I'm wondering how that bad one from a long time ago, but maybe it was something like it wasn't Journalytics, and since then Journalytics has fixed it, and then it's just been cached this whole time. But that is nice because now it's all clean. So I like that. And just to test that things are working here, come in and place a sim order on here. Yep, and then I see it and I cancel it and it's canceled. Cool. Do you think that the music is too loud? It's definitely, it should be pretty low compared to my voice. So I think levels are pretty good. I'm pretty confident. Yeah, in terms of like how I look, it's kind of weird. Although I do think I may have done something with my camera, but do you see like my eyes are a little bit less white today? The circles under my eyes aren't that bad, but like the tone of my skin is not right. It should be, especially since I've been in the sun a lot, you know? Yeah, well, it may be a little bit louder than it maybe has been in the past, but I feel a little better than yesterday, at least. Dude, the treasuries are selling here. That kind of turned down actually really fast and not a lot of volume. Well, I do see the Japanese yen making a similar pattern here. Gold doing something. Dude, something is up, man. What is it? I'm going to come here to Yahoo Finance and see top stock losers. I don't see anything too interesting on there. Maybe trending tickers? And I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing any of these regional banks popping up here. Okay, after last month's massive jump in 12-month inflation expectations, analysts are hoping this morning's preliminary May data from the University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment shows some pullback in that fear, while inflation expectations for the next year dip very modestly. Expectations for the next 5 to 10 years jumped to 3.2%, and it hasn't been higher since 2008. That's why they're selling it over, well, and that does say sell the treasuries, right? Let's do this. Maybe if it is so kind. I'll play it that way. No one cared about prelim in the past. Well, so the market has been paying really close attention to those inflation in expectation numbers. I didn't realize that that was a much higher number than it's been in the past, though, the 5-year one. Back to the headline sentiment data, that was very ugly, with the recent bounce having eroded significantly, with consumer sentiment index slid to 57.7, the lowest since November, and weaker than all forecasts from 53.5 last month. The university's overall measure of expectations fell to a 10-month low of 53.4. The current conditions gauge also decreased. Buying conditions for durable goods declined to a 5-month low in early May, with about 42% of respondents blaming high prices for eroding their living standards. While current incoming macroeconomic data show no sign of recession, consumers' worries about the economy escalated in May alongside the proliferation of negative views about the economy, including the debt crisis standoff. Joanne Su, Director of the survey said in a statement, throughout the current inflationary episode, consumers have shown resilience under strong labor markets, but their anticipation of a recession will lead them to pull back when signs of weakness emerge. If policymakers fail to resolve the debt ceiling crisis, these dismal views over the economy will exacerbate the dire economic consequences of default. Consumer confidence also dropped sharply during the 2011 debt ceiling crisis, but snapped back after its resolution. Okay. So that maybe makes a little bit more sense in that, okay, both the E-mini and the treasuries could be moving purely off of the sentiment numbers. That the inflation expectations being high and the consumer sentiment being poor kind of suggests that the Federal Reserve will have to keep interest rates higher for longer, but that the earnings will be negatively impacted. And gold and the Japanese yen could all just be moving in correlation to that. And the dollar is not actually doing anything too big, but is moving a little bit higher, which is kind of what's been happening during the quote-unquote inflationary episodes. So this is kind of interesting because you would think that CPI would be the thing that matters, but in this instance is kind of starting to feel like that the market cares more about the inflation expectations than the actual CPI that we just got. This was already scheduled to happen. Well, look, it's not like all of the big players have a little morning council and decide, okay, so guys, at 8:05, that's when we're going to tank the market, okay? And it doesn't happen like that, right? The question is, orders are moving the market in a certain direction. Why is that? What is driving those orders? Well, it does appear to me that in the 10-year treasury, there's been about 5,000 net contracts more selling than buying. And I believe, given that all of that flow has come in since the initial news, I'm going to say that it's because of the consumer sentiment numbers that we got. Aztec, I challenge you on that. Okay. If you can find me a video recording of Jamie Dimon, on a conference call with everybody saying this sort of a thing, then I will admit defeat. Look at that go. So this is getting a little interesting to me. Man, that was one tick. Yeah, but did you see how easily it fell through? I don't know, man. I find it very curious that we moved that quickly and the bids just completely jumped out of the way. And we're like right on the edge of like, oh geez. No. We're like right on the edge of the lows here from yesterday. So if they start falling through 24 and see like, look, there's hardly any resistance at 24 either. So that's an area where I would expect there to be at least some interest, and it's not there at all. Is a little curious to me. Yeah, I'm... So we don't get to single prints from the CPI number until 1/15/17. Did it stack? I was not paying enough attention to that, but I do see that there's over 2,000 contracts on all of these levels. There's quite a bit of liquidity below us as well. We are getting some strong signs that large players are in the market making a move, aren't we? Yeah, well, you're definitely right. I do remember a lot earlier today that most of these prices were like at 14K, 16K, but I didn't see it like bump up to 2K like all at once. That's what I'm interested in was, did you see it like they went to 2K like very quickly? And post news, that's the other thing is like, did it normalize? Well, we should be able to go back and watch. Let's do that. Okay, so okay, so it was about 16, and then when we started breaking there, they did kind of start stacking, although some of those bids I think were already there. Interesting. Okay. I don't know. There's a significant pullback there, though. But it does appear that it was, yeah, like once they cleared it, that it was like once they started pushing the new lows, that's when it kind of stacked up. At the moment, this is kind of playing out like a liquidity grab, like, except for that it wasn't a liquidity grab. Like there wasn't like big orders smashed through there, but it sure did like smash through like a level that I would think people were watching, and then, you know, after pushing through it snapped back. I think this one has some interesting potential because it's kind of in a situation where we would not expect so much activity, and then we got a piece of news that does appear significant, and then we started to see significant amounts of volume go through, and we saw them breach through significant levels before the volume really started coming. So like, when you get a situation like that and it catches a lot of people off guards, you can end up getting a bigger move, right? Is TT more low latency? I would say that the TT data is better. And like how much better is the latency through the software and everything else? I don't know, but TT has really good data. Why? I don't know, but I mean, like TT is geared towards professional commodity trading advisors and those sorts of guys. And so what makes it good? I don't know how they get it so good, but if I had TT open and I were able to show you and have the TT DOM next to the NinjaTrader DOM, you would be able to tell the difference. Like, it's a very noticeable thing. It's very different. It's like the granularity of the updates that you get is much higher. Is it possible that institutional traders have plans and don't just wake up each morning and react like retail traders? Okay, so what context are you asking that? Because definitely there are situations where institutional traders have come in and they're planning on selling it because they have to rebalance their portfolio or whatever the deal is. And they were going to do that like almost no matter what happened, right? Usually you don't do that on a Friday, but it does happen. Yeah, consumer sentiment turned out to be quite bearish. Like what I'm seeing is that consumer sentiment number was actually really quite bad. Much worse than you might realize from just the headline numbers, huh? Who knows NASDAQ technologies? I don't test that sort of a thing. I don't care how well what the latency is to the Frankfurt server. I don't live in Europe. That report came out at the top of the hour, so at 10 o'clock Eastern time, 8 o'clock my time, 30 minutes ago. Okay, this is did you see that orders went off at when they ticked down 23, orders went off at 22.5 almost immediately. So those are stops, and then they clear it, and wow. 5K now trades at 21.5 almost instantly. 21 clears with 1,000. Oh man. Oh, that was I enjoyed that. That was good. Oh man. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. That felt good. Wow. Okay, but with the 5K trading there, even though it seems like that's a tiny amount to take off of something so awesome, I get a little nervous seeing something that awesome and then trying to think that it's going to continue. Oh man, that was amazing. Oh, that was a live order, but it was only $10. I mean, come on, it's only $10. We'll see if it goes another $10, $30, $50 or something like that. Then I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh. Okay, so like there's this interesting thing about like how do people make decisions, and the research shows that we really don't make decisions based on logic and so forth, that decisions have a lot to do with feelings. And I definitely get feelings from watching the Dom, and I don't know how it works, but I'm really interested in why I eventually decided to take that live. It was definitely where I saw that this had some real potential to extend. Now, can they go further than what we are now? Again, like the next benchmark price that I'd be looking at is 17. But I got out because there was such a big order there. Oh man. Okay, so there's a little bit more. Sometimes when you get a big order like that, it goes a little bit more, but then it snaps back. But that doesn't seem to be what's going on. This seems to be more like a complete puke. But I got out because that 5K happened so quickly. I'm really concerned about this snapping back really fast. And it is definitely showing that kind of behavior in the Dom, like right there, because we just had a quick little move and it retraced that quick little move really, really quickly. But it was at like what, 21.5 that we saw the big order? That really was like, so when I think about like big moves that we've seen in the treasuries recently, because we've had some periods of like really extreme volatility in the treasuries, right? And like big moves all over the place. But like in terms of something that's like, you're not really sure, and then it kind of starts going, and then like it really, like the ball really gets rolling, and it just turns into the like this complete disaster sort of a thing. I have not seen action like that in a really long time, and that kind of action, when I see that, really makes me think that like somebody was on the wrong side of this and just had to puke, you know, like they're just, whatever you got to do, get out of this position, or like a broker is like a margin call sort of a thing, you know, those sorts of things. Because when it came through there, right, like talking about that break at 23.5, 3,000 traded there, and then it took like 3 or 4 ticks, like all at once. The orders just came through, and then there was that huge iceberg, and then they pushed through that even further, and there was even more like slipping. And like if you had stops, you possibly could have caught as much as 4 ticks of slippage there, right? And that in a relatively liquid market too, by the way, right? That is really something else. I have not seen action like that in a very, very long time. Oh, That was so satisfying. I've got to go back and find that one and turn it into a video so that I can watch that, because that was so satisfying. I only made $10, but man, what a fun move. Okay, so where did I get it? I got a 433, or maybe left $5 on the table, but now that it's doing what it's doing here, it definitely would be out. So yeah, you know what, Octavius? I don't know if it really actually had anything to do with the IB break or anything like that, but to your credit, you did say that it could move out really strong if it did that, and it did. I suspect that it has more to do with that, like, it's a Friday, they're not expecting anything big to happen, and then this news that came out was just like really took them by surprise. But you know, the thing that really like made me realize that this was about to do something was that I saw it coming to levels that I know don't really predict whether we're gonna to hold or go through or anything like that. Like, I know that there's no predictive value in these numbers, but I also know that there's a lot of market participants that care about them. And so when I see them breaching through yesterday's low and like people aren't even paying attention yet, that to me, that was when I was like, I think I should get on this. That was the thing that made me arm my account and start looking for a trade. And I probably was like way late. I probably could have gotten at least $10-15 earlier. So man, that one's kind of nice because it was a flow that I would say took us by a little bit surprised. I wouldn't say unexpected, because we know if there's news that there could be flow off of that news, but kind of took us by surprise, but we were still able to jump on it and get something out of it. That's really cool. That was actually like, I played that one pretty good. You're definitely getting into the like low latent liquidity sort of issues here now though. Well, it's not even that. Like, the levels have no predictive value, but mechanically something's going to happen there. So I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just you're using a lot of different words there. So like, the way that I would put it is people tend to be interested in those prices and you tend to see activity and volume there. So for it to slip through that before people even realize what's going on is really weird, right? Because people stack stops and stuff at them. Oh, thank you, Trading Bunny. I don't know that much, but I know the one thing that I got, and a lot of it is going to be really useful to you at the beginning. So, and can I say, you know, every once in a while we'll get somebody that comes in that works hard, and you're definitely one of those people. I've been really impressed. So. But to do what Uzi was saying, the other thing is like, I didn't see stops at first, not at first. It was like, it had to go through it. Like, I think the way that you play, I think that like, if you were a price action guy, the way that you do that is you say, oh, okay, there's the price. They're going to go through it. There's going to be a liquidity grab. it's going to come back up, and then you kind of end up taking it on the pullback or something like that, right? And it didn't do that, you know? It was just like, it came down to that price, it ticked down, and it wasn't even taking very much volume to do it. It was like there was this guy that he was selling it, and he wanted people to fight him. Like he you know what I mean? It's I have a hard time being like, you know, here's what I think they are doing. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot that I have this thing on too. I had the sim trade. I should at least take one contract of that off, right? Oh man. Anyways, I really think that was somebody that panicked and they just had to sell it. So like when it came down to that low, I think that guy is like begging for somebody, you know, somebody push against me. Like if this can be a liquidity grab and come back up, and then I can continue selling in here and there'd be all of these people fighting. I think that he would love that, because that looked to me like somebody that was very panicked. That was somebody that was really puking hard. So like if I come back here, what was the price again? It was 24. It was exactly 24. So like if you come over here, maybe I can explain it this way. So here's 24, right? Here's 24. I got in somewhere around here, right? It went through that 24 very easily, and then it did bounce, but like look at the volume in this area. Look at the volume. So like, okay, so from this, now I've just got triangles all over the place. So if I look at here's the news. So if I look at this post news move to here, okay, that was a net 5,000 contracts. Okay, not too much. Then we get to 10,000, right? And it's able to slip through the low. You know, that's where I'm like somebody must be in trouble, because they're trying to trade at 24 and like they don't have much to trade into. Now this thing though, man, like look at that. That was, so from 52 to 42. Man, that was just like 10,000 contracts all at once. Oh my gosh, so satisfying. I really liked that, man. Nothing gets me off better than a good old stop run, man. So good. Okay, so I guess I just take this other contract off up here. I kind of wish that instead of celebrating over my live trade working out, that I had tried to work out the trade over here too. That's okay. Now let's come over to Twitter. I can see so like Amelia Bordeaux. I don't like that tick up in the University of Michigan 5 to 10 year inflation expectations up to 3.2%. Right, because before it was 3% and now it's 3.2%. Was last month. So that's why they're all triggered to buy it. Well, I'm wondering if we got anything else from anyone. Oh, that's interesting. Anthony Crudelli says, I have stayed away this month all because of the action on the first day of the month. Throughout my career as a futures trader, the best days have been the first and last days of the month. The order flow is usually cleaner, and depending on the flows, they give signals to the rest of the ... Do I have to like go and click on it to see? To the rest of the month. Sometimes the simplest things, like the action on the first or last days of the month, can be your best indication of the market environment. Okay. He's an AI. Are you saying I'm an AI? If I was an AI, I would be a hot anime chick. I don't know. Why would I choose if I were to design an AI to run a live stream, why would I choose a bald, middle-aged man and not a hot anime chick? Come on, guys. Oh, you know what? Google released their own version of like what do they call these things again? VTuber software, so that you can use your motion capture from the camera to control a virtual avatar, and it looked really good. I gotta try it because it looks better than the other software that I tried. And then we come to the end of the list. Let's do this one. Now let's do the ones that I have hearts on. Oh yeah, it does the good stuff. Well, man, I want to just keep talking about how great that action was, but I don't know if there's really anything else to say about it. Oh man. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't catch that Tesla was up today because Elon Musk had announced that they had found a CEO for Twitter. I don't think that actually means that he will be spending more time back at Tesla, because it sounds like he's still going to be doing the technical stuff, which I think is really funny. Yeah, and she's a dude. That whole thing is so weird to me. Okay, so this comes back to this thing that I keep trying to explain to people, and like, it's not that I don't think that you guys are understanding or hearing me or anything. Is just like nobody ever cares when I make this point. Okay, the World Economic Forum is a forum, which means that you come in and you say, hey, if you spend $35,000 or whatever, then you can be part of this cool club where we give speeches and make recommendations about world policy. Okay, so as far as I understand, the World Economic Forum does not have some sort of a platform or something where they go, okay, here's what we have decided are our main platform things now, and we have this document, and we're going to go out and do this, and this in order to go and accomplish it. That sort of a thing. It doesn't work like that, as far as I understand, right? It's more that it's just people that tend to be rich get together and like give speeches about what they think. Yeah. And people in this particular club have a particular set of disagreeable beliefs. That's the way that I would put it. And it's not even that it's the people in the club. It's that forum represents quite well what the super elites of the world think. Okay, which is why it's a little scary how out of touch they are sometimes, and that's what's really alarming about the World Economic Forum, right? But it's not like a conspiracy. Okay, so with that in mind, somebody being a part of the World Economic Forum does not necessarily mean that they are a globalist shill or anti-free speech or a liberal or anything like that. In fact, this woman was somebody that was appointed by Donald Trump at one point. So she apparently does move in conservative circles. So I don't know anything about the lady or why he chose her, but I don't think that it means that Twitter is going to move away from free speech or anything like that. At the same time, actually I do know. Okay, so here's the other side of it that I'm a little bit concerned about. Not concerned about, but like disappointed. Okay, which is that, and maybe it's because, oh well, I don't know, but just hear me out, okay? She is like the advertising head, like at NBC Universal. So what she is good at is like getting advertisers on board and making things good for advertisers, which is something that frankly Twitter has always been poor at. And especially since the woke advertisers have left, they've really been bad at, right? So it seems to me that that's the only reason that they're bringing her in. So I would like to see, it sounds like Elon was trying to turn Twitter into like the everything platform, and that it could be a place where, you know, if I wanted to build I don't want to be completely vulnerable to whatever YouTube decides to do, where I could build out another audience on Twitter, and I could do video and live stream on Twitter potentially. And it even kind of sounds like with the whole Tucker Carlson thing, I don't know how that works, but it even sounds like that there will be options for you to have subscriptions and stuff like that, right? Maybe like Elon Musk has already put that stuff in place and he's still going to be around and pushing those in it. I don't know, but it seems to me like they're only bringing her in for the advertising, you know? So, but the whole thing overall is just really interesting, isn't it? The whole thing overall is just really interesting, isn't it? Because it's just like, well, we knew that he was looking for a CEO, but I don't think that anybody expected him to find a replacement anytime soon. And then the person that he ends up choosing is just like, who? And then you find all of these things out about her, and it just doesn't seem like who he would pick, does it? I don't know. But the good thing is it is somebody that has experience being an executive. It gives me a lot more confidence than, say, like when Donald Trump chose what's his bucket to be the CEO of Truth Social, right? That right there was like, well, I don't want to be involved in this anymore now. Right? What's his bucket? I know. I just can't remember anybody's freaking names all the time. Terrible at that stuff. Has anyone succeeded treating Twitter like YouTube and having a channel? I don't think so. Like, that's why I'm like, so the Tucker Carlson moving to quote Twitter thing is really interesting to me too, because like, as far as I understand, you can't use Twitter as a platform like that. Like, I know you can post videos, but you can't post like hour-long videos, can you? And post hour-long videos and like charge people a subscription fee? Or like maybe live stream videos on Twitter? Can you do that? And I like tried searching and I didn't find any information about it. And like, I know that like some of the stuff that they did have like changed recently, because like they had Periscope and they shut Periscope down, didn't they? What happened to Matt Walsh? He went to Twitter too, didn't he? Yeah, he did go on to Twitter too. But that's only been like a week or two. So, and I think I have seen clips. I don't know. That one actually kind of bothers me. So here's the thing that irks me about this stuff is it does sound to me like Matt Walsh made some mistakes that would allow YouTube to remove him, but it also kind of feels like they can nitpick so much, you know? Like they can nitpick the people they don't like. They can nitpick and ban you for like the tiniest things, and then the people that they do like, they just let them get away with freaking everything. It's not, the rules are not applied fairly. Like my understanding is Matt Walsh did like misgender somebody, and that like is in their terms of service. And so I keep coming to some of these prominent conservative guys. Like this is my problem. I just keep seeing over and over again is that I'll see a conservative guy and I'll see them say a lot of things that I agree with, and I feel like that they're promoting their ideas really effectively, and then they'll turn around and they'll just do something really stupid, or say something really stupid, or get on board something really stupid. And even with Tucker Carlson, I kind of see that. Although I think that Tucker Carlson is much more dedicated to like quote unquote journalism than these other guys. But, you know, I don't know what to do. I feel like that there's in conservatism today, because there's different groups of conservatives, you have like a set of ideas, which mostly comes from like the Northeastern business type of Republicans, right? Where they have some really good understanding of the economy and ways of doing policy in general, right? But then when you go into all of the other groups, you know, they have other ideas about these things that cancel it out. It's like, okay, yeah, the Republicans should be really good on the economy because they understand the economy. But then there you got all these Republicans that are like, okay, we're in office now, let's implement a gold standard. And it's like, no, guys, you know, or they just don't do anything. It's frustrating as AF. Okay, I digress. This is the issues of our time, and it's going to be interesting how it all turns out. But that was such a good trade. I'm going to go and make that one into a short for sure today. I will see you guys on Monday. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.